See it?
Okay, welcome, Body Design University. You are here with Mr. Doug Blake and Corey Ritter, personal trainer talk. It's Wednesday, 2:00, and we're here to answer your questions. And I've got a Doug. What's these questions that they just keep coming in, and these are good. These are really good. Everything having to do with.
I think more importantly, who's the introduce us to the guy behind you?
Yeah, this nice fellow right now is going to help me. Stop wearing smelly, dirty clothes because my my systems have gone down. So this
if people think this isn't real, man, if
this is real, this is the real deal. Only we got about 5,000 folks tuning in right now, something like that. So look, so
funny.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's the most funny is that if you remember last month, my air conditioning system completely went down, and right while we had the call, they're like pulling the condenser, or whatever it is. So anyhow, you do what you got to do. It is what it is. But this guy's been really helpful. Thank you very much too. Right. So all right. Personal training talk. We are here. We got a bunch of questions, everything from supplements to advertising to how to train those biceps, to working at a gym versus a studio. Really effective.
We got some interesting
superfoods
questions.
Oh my gosh,
dude. I don't know.
We got some great stuff. We're ready to rock and roll. Mr. Blake,
yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Hey, we finally got some good rain down here.
Oh, yeah. Has it been raining down there? Here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have fully rolled right into the summertime. And I'll tell you what, the other day it was heating up. You're
familiar.
Warm, so.
I mean, look, you're a Florida boy. You know
that's right.
You know what it's like down here in South Florida. And I've been waiting on the rain. And today, torrential. It was awesome. Best thing for my lawn.
Hey, look, if we ever become really big,
really,
if we ever come really big and, we just don't know what to do with the money that we're making through, the company and everything. Would you be okay with us starting a power boat, literally just joining powerboat racing? Does that sound ridiculous?
Dude, I used to train a professional powerboat racer. It was one of the large ones with the 3 massive engines in the back, and it was 2 guys, and they wore helmets.
Yes, he was trimaran.
They had a navigator in the back and
a throttle man
that's what it was, and it was really, really cool.
So it's funny that you bring that up, but I was just thinking that you could be the navigator and I will be the throttle guy.
Oh, I got to get inside the thing.
And literally, it's literally you'll be in one hall, I'll be in the other. And these things are going over, 100 plus miles an hour. I just recently saw one that I thought was just unbelievable. And I did grow up down in the Florida Keys, and in the Keys, they have these powerboat races. So anyhow, I thought, who even starts a powerboat race? How does that even come about? Who says I'm going to build or buy a 50-foot plus, install the biggest cubic and motors and race?
3 1,500 horsepower Mercury motors. I think this guy had. I just
inboard or outboard?
No, those are inboards. Those are inboards.
Mercruisers.
Is that what it is? Mercruisers? I mean, you're talking 19. It was way back
when they first started doing it really big time. It was in the early 80s, and Key West was a main place for it. It was just it turned into a festival. But I saw one the other day and I was like, man, how cool would it be to have one day have a body design powerboat, and Doug was the navigator and I was the throttle. I mean, hey, look, kids can dream. So
just don't tell Joy if you throw me in a boat.
Right. Exactly. Man, we've got so much cool new news. We've got too many questions to answer. So we got to dive into this, but
all right.
Next week, Doug, we're going to introduce them to the new member of the team.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything.
don't give any hints. Okay. All right.
So you got a
we've
question. You got some questions there, I think, right?
All right. So let's see. Let's get this show started. Guys, if you're still with us, if you haven't already like taken off and you're still with us, okay. Look, this is for personal trainers that are just wanting to get ahead. That's it. Just wanting to get ahead. We share information every Wednesday. So if you're going to invest time, don't invest it on Netflix. Invest it with Doug and Corey, okay, in the podcast. If you're going to invest time, don't invest it just on any YouTube. Come check out Body Design University on YouTube. Subscribe. Our traction continues to grow. We'd love to have you be a part of our regular questions and weekly things. So anyhow, that's who this is for. If you are a personal trainer, I don't care if you've been training for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, or just wanting to be a personal trainer, this talk is for you. You're going to grab something from this if you pay attention that you can apply to your business or your personal training service. So the first question we have here is from Olivia Harris in Dallas, Texas. I have a question. I have a client that can't go down very far on a squat. What are some options since I really want her to do the exercise? Olivia, this is a great question. So just make sure I understand. You've got a client that you're doing squats with. She can't go down very far. You don't say why. I'm guessing because it's uncomfortable or painful. We're going to give you some variations. And when I say we, I mean Doug. So Doug, she can't go down too far on a squat. What do you think I've done, or what did you do for all these years?
I basically tell him to go home and I don't want to train him anymore. No, that's not what I would say. I know what other trainers will generally do, and they'll put their, I question, of course, is what do you mean by not going down very far? Again, I guess I can make some assumptions. Normally, when people aren't going down very far, I sort of picture in my mind that they're not going down to what folks assume is the proper range of motion, which is like right? Thighs parallel to the ground.
True.
Okay. Normally the correlation is with the pelvic tilt, but for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. We normally see parallel to the ground and appropriate pelvic tilting at about that same point. But if not going down far enough, I've seen trainers put their heels, the clients will put their, put a weight and they'll put their heels on it. And that works because obviously that overcomes what would apparently be like an ankle inflexibility issue. I don't recommend it. I've never recommended that with no weight. It's not that big of a deal. You could do it, but that doesn't solve the problem. I agree that you probably, it's one of the best. It's like the exercise, right? It's one of our favorite exercises. So
yeah, you can't do leg day without squats.
No. So I think the majority of people that I've seen that have issues with depth or going down to a certain depth, or at least getting at least to parallel, is simply because of certain muscles that are tight. Right. So hamstrings can be tight. So you could try, just stretching out the hamstrings a little bit, do some ankle joint flexibility, stretching out the calves, things like that. And then just keep trying to have the individual go down a little lower and lower and lower without losing the pelvic, appropriate pelvic tilting or anterior pelvic tilt. So yeah. I mean, there's not too much. It doesn't give me enough info. If it's a hamstrings or tight issue, lower back is tight, whatever the case is, then try stretching.
Let's give a couple options. Let's just imagine that it's a pain workaround that she's dealing with. What would you recommend if the client's coming down and they're feeling
some knee or something like that?
Yes.
So generally pain in the knee is a biomechanical issue. And so what I mean by that is that anytime you're looking at the kinetic chain or all the joints and limbs that are involved in the actual movement. So in a squat, it's going to be the foot, the ankle, tibiofibula complex, knee, femur, and LPHC, lumbo pelvic hip complex, lower back, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So those are the areas then that need to be modified positionally. So generally what I'll do is like the first thing I do is I say, just put your feet out a little wider apart.
Okay.
Generally, if that tracks the knee back into an appropriate position, then biomechanically, if that doesn't hurt, you're good to go. And then it's just like a flow chart from there.
Yeah.
So if it still bothers them, then I'll tell them to turn the toes out. So I sort of go in a stepwise fashion. First off,
I've never tried that. And it seems like that would really work. See, I would just try to like, say, you must not be really serious about your fitness goals. If you're not willing to push through this pain.
Well, that's after I say that. After I say that,
I am joking there.
But that's an option.
So hold on. The great workaround. Those are things that we've done and that we do and we teach trainers. It's very, very effective. Step out, turn your feet a little bit, just, see how it feels for the client. But let's assume for 1 second, there's no pain. It's just the client's they're doing what we call half squats. Like back in the day when Doug and I first met, every now and then we'd work out together and I would look over and I'd be like, is he doing half squats again? And so anyhow, how do you prevent somebody from doing half squats? Well, let me show you. Okay. This is how it works. As a personal trainer for many years and training tons of people that do half squats, you stand over them. Okay. In this intimidating way. Okay. And you get real close. And when they come down and normally they would stop, you say, no, just keep going a little bit further. And then they'd look at you and you would have like laser focus on them. Right. And you say, no, further. And they'd look at you again and you say further and you'd say further. And they'd keep going down to the point of where, you can actually see the pelvis start to tuck. And so right before that, and you tell them, you see what that feels like right there? And 9 times out of 10, what I found is that they're avoiding that lactic acid burn. So if they don't go down as far, there's not as much burn. So you just got to almost intimidate them through the range of motion. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Is that?
Wow.
And then guess what they do?
I mean, you're not wrong. That's for sure.
Look, I'm just telling you, do that with your clients and all the exercises to make sure they're doing it safe and effectively. And at the end of 30 days, they get results.
And it's Olivia. So Olivia, the other thing, the other thing to sort of keep in mind, what I would always say to any biomechanical issue is generally any exercise that I do with clients has some correlation to the real world. So do you sit in a chair? Do you get in and out of your car? Well, that's really no different than doing a squat. If you're functionally able to get in and out of your car, more than likely the issue is like you're saying, they just don't want to go down all the, because that's where
that's right.
That's where the meat and potatoes is, right?
Doug, what do I do that and you still see me do from time to time, as early as 4 or 5 months ago at the studio?
Quit your workout early? What?
No, I'm talking about when I'm training some clients. So for example, and they're doing squats. Do you know what I do to always make sure that I get them to go down low enough? Can you think of what it is that I do besides talking them through it? Intimidation. I have one other trickery.
Because normally I'm on the receiving end of that and I'm usually ready to faint or vomit. So.
I set out the platforms.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I set out the platforms and I have them sit all the way down on the platform. Now it's a high enough riser. Okay. But I have them sit all the way down and have them come all the way back up. And I always get the range of motion that I'm looking for on those reps.
You're pretty sneaky.
And see that it's trickery. It's fitness trickery. I will tell you, somebody once said that I had an interesting ability to get people to do things that they didn't want to do. And sometimes you got to come up with creative ways as a trainer.
That's what I've always told you. You would have been great in the Army. I had a first sergeant like that. He had a very, very effective way to get people to do what they didn't want to do.
I could only imagine.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Olivia, I hope that helps. We just gave you some options to get them down, to go down all the way, based on whether or not they have an injury or they just don't want to do it because it's perceived level of difficulty that they're trying.
Let me move on. Let me give you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Olivia. Let me give you a question because this is from
Okay.
Ben Wagner. He's from Little Rock. Oh, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Isn't that where Bill Clinton's from?
Yeah, that come to think of it, that's true.
How would I even know that? Okay.
Okay. So, Ben asks, where do you suggest I begin advertising? And he says, I have 5 clients from just working with the new members at the club I train at already, and I charge them $25 an hour. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, where do you suggest I begin advertising?
Well, first, I suggest that you change the rate that you're charging, because if you want to advertise, you got to have a margin. Margin. A lot of people think like more clients and revenue develops profit, and it's not. It's margin. You could have a whole bunch of clients with no margin. Okay, and so first, when you say $25 a session, we don't even go that low with small group training anymore. Small group training starts at 30 US over the entire US. Generally speaking, we're not doing small group training for less than $30 per session. Now, if you're doing one-on-one, it's got to be at least $50
minimum
or more.
Minimum, right?
Minimum. Yeah. And now if you're in a city, of course, that's got to start at 75 to 100. But if we're in average America, we're talking about minimum $50 per hour for one-on-one.
And we see this a lot, don't we?
We see it all the time. And look, and the reason being is that when people start, because this person just started, right? They said they have 5 clients. So, you start and you're like, oh, I don't have the experience, or I don't have the knowledge, or, I gotta work my way up. And there's some logic to that. But I'm going to tell you that the reality is that if you take the time to study, and get an accredited certification, you come to a school like Body Design University to learn the anatomy, human behavior, customer experience, advanced nutrition. You take the time out to learn these things, you have to be compensated fairly based on that knowledge, when the average trainer is getting a certification online, right? And or no hand, whatever the case is, or they're just doing something out of a book, and it might not hit all the factors of personal training and the experience that the customer gets. With that being said, if you do that and you've taken the time to study, maybe even have a 4-year degree in exercise science, well, you got to charge more, first and foremost. Secondly, if you're inside of a club, okay, you got to tell me, are you an employee? If you're an employee, I'm not going to recommend that you advertise from a paid standpoint. You can do sign-up sheets in the club. You could do little signs for, body composition measurement. You could do little signs for, free meal plan or consultation, things like this. But inside of a club, you're not gonna spend dollars advertising to bring people to the club. Now, if you're working inside of a club and you're paying rent and you're running your own business, no question, it's going to be Google. Google still wins in Google search. So you just do Google ads and direct it right there. And once you maxed out the spend on Google ads and you want more than Facebook, Instagram are definitely the factors. Of course, YouTube. But bottom line is that Google ads, that's all you need to learn. You learn Google ads if you're doing a rent scenario, but you're not going to do advertising if you're working as an employee at somebody's club. I don't recommend it. I don't. Even if you're working as an employee at somebody's club, and you're doing personal training on the side part-time, too much energy, effort in it. So what form of not advertising, but if you're an employee somewhere, you should be like, what form of marketing or promotion? If you're an employee somewhere, sign-up sheets have always worked. They will always work, and people want more information. So offering a free consultation with you, offering a free body composition measuring, offering, free workshop on nutrition or something like that, and getting people together. Those are ways that you can build a big clientele pretty quickly.
It's a captive audience, isn't it?
Yeah. And everyone thinks like, oh, the best way is to like prowl people on the gym floor. It's not, it's just not. And we used to do that. Trust me. We did that in many locations with a lot of people. The most effective way for trainers in a gym are sign up sheets and being on stage when you're training people. Other people will see you training. They'll want to be a part of it. And that's that. And then of course you could still post organically to get people to come in and join the gym that you're working at and then train with you. If again, you're paying rent and you're running your own business, Google Ads, hands down, Google Ads still just crushes it for us. It's been crushing it for us. And when I say us, like our personal training business and our personal training studio for going on 19 years. Like we started Google Ads pretty soon after they even had it available to start advertising. We started mastering Google Ads when Google first launched. We're offering ads because remember, Google at first was just a search. You could just search for stuff. There was no ads. When they launched the ads, and I don't hold me to this, but I'm going to say maybe 2005, something like 2007. I don't know, something like that. We started doing it, and every year it's worked. It's worked, and it continues to work. So that's where I'd recommend if you're paying rent, Google Ads for. Now, if you're an online trainer, totally different. But you're working at a gym somewhere and you're targeting a geographic and you want active people that are going to come into that facility. That's what I'd recommend. Okay. What do we got on here next? We've got another question. I've seen some guys. This is from Michael Guzman out of San Antonio, Texas. I've seen some guys pushing higher volume training for biceps. Does this make sense? Well, yeah. I mean, it depends on their goal, for sure. But higher volume training for biceps, just know this is that as a personal trainer, your average client, okay, that's all you have to do is keep in mind the average client and their goals. And then you could answer that question yourself. Now, if you have a client specifically, that's a guy and it has different goals than the average personal training client, then yes. Doug, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to know what type of, when you say higher volume, where are you starting at? Volume is the total number of repetitions that you perform on particular muscle groups and of course you can have
highlighters.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, man. You can do 100.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
Dude, I'm just saying.
And you're using
that's my volume.
And you're using the heavy highlighters. So
don't make me
reps and sets. So one of the things about volume is that it's generally offset by what we would consider to be intensity. So again, these terms, intensity and volume, right? And bodybuilders tend to do higher volume, and powerlifters will do higher intensity, meaning greater loads but lower repetitions. All volume means is the total number of repetitions. So to say higher volume,
time under tension.
I mean, if you want to do another exercise for another set for another 15 repetitions, 12 repetitions, you've increased volume. I mean, look, one of the things we do know is that you're already pumping the biceps full of relatively high volume when you're training your back, any type of rowing, pulling movements, your biceps get your elbow flexors get a pretty good amount of training right off the bat. So I'm not sure about adding, we're talking about 5 exercises. We talking Arnold Schwarzenegger level stuff here, 5 exercises, 5 sets of 10 to 12.
Yeah. And think of it this way, Doug. I mean, on our split routine that we recommend, which, generally falls Wednesday with back and biceps for an example. I've never had an issue with the amount of volume, even when I had guys that were in their 20s trying to put on size, because the muscle groups that I have, the amount of time on Wednesday to do that was always more than enough. This might be, I mean, I don't know. Michael might be doing one of those, asking for a friend, wink, wink, questions. Hey, I'm just asking for a friend.
I'm just saying that anytime you increase volume in anything, whether it's a particular muscle group, a particular actual training session, because remember, Wednesdays back in, just as for instance, Wednesdays back in biceps, you can look at the entire workout from a volume perspective, meaning all the exercises, all of the reps that I in that exercise session, I can get a lot of volume in and have relatively low volume on my biceps because I only do one exercise because I only got, or I can look at just the particular muscle group and the total volume of repetitions that I do for just that one muscle group. And the biceps, not the largest muscle group, but
Right.
you know, ironically enough, you can do a lot of volume on smaller muscle groups and they can generally recover. You just got to be careful that you don't go heavier and heavier weight and heavier and heavier, you know, higher and higher volume, because they are generally inversely related. If you want to do your 12, 15, 20 reps, don't be doing, we're talking about average person, right?
Right.
The average person, don't be doing 5 exercises, 3 sets, crazy volume. No, that's just not necessary. And it
one, you shouldn't even have the time to do that. I mean,
and look, it could be potentially very dangerous because we know that people will develop chronic overtraining issues that can be very targeted to the joints. And so,
hey, what's that condition that's I can't, I'm drawing a blank on it. It starts with an R. When you overtrain, you can develop, when you overtrain any of the muscles, it creates a toxic type of condition. What is it called? It starts with an R. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You had to ask me, right?
Come on, man. So I've literally had somebody go and they gonna let their arms down and
because of the toxin buildup after you beat them up with 25.
Yeah, and they went to the doctor and the doctor said, "Hey, you have XYZ," and I was like, "What?" And I learned this like 15 years ago, but it was a condition where basically it was really just overtraining at the highest level. I'll have to search it later, but
I mean, I'm not surprised.
No, dude, I had her doing pull-ups and spotted, you know, and we were repping them out, just one right after the other, repping them out. And then we were doing supersets. We're doing supersets with the barbell, very lightweight. And until she could not lift the bar any long. She was a beast though. She was a beast, but still, you know, anyhow, I hope that helps answer your question. Volume does matter. Okay. Oh, yeah. But it's relative to, you know, what they're doing. But keep in mind too, just the timing, the business element of how much time that you have and what makes the most sense. So how much money should I be spending on my advertising? Tracy Green from here in Atlanta, Georgia. Tracy, thank you for your question. You should be spending when you start. We generally recommend 25% of your revenue. So if you bring in $1,000 in revenue in your first month, $250 is allocated. If you bring in $10,000 in your first month through paid in full, monthly payments, whatever, $2,500 is allocated. We recommend that you spend about 25% of your revenue, which is incredibly high, until your schedule is full, which should generally take about 90 days. All trainers out there should be able to fill their entire schedule with the technology that we have available for us in an advertising platform within 90 days. And then once you get full, then you start backing it down to 20%, then you back it down to 15%, then you back it down to 10%. Now, this is not for employee trainers. This is not for W-2 trainers. This is not for part-time trainers. This is for full-time online or in-person personal trainers that are running their own business. It's a percentage of revenue is generally what we recommend, starting with. Now, look, if you want to hit the ground running and you have a bigger budget, then go 50%. Go. Look, you might start with your budget, start a budget of, let's just say $5,000. You spend, as long as everything is done right, you have the right copy on the advertisement. You've got a landing page. You've got a autoresponder set up. You've got, you know, a sales system, a basics consultation sales system. They get scheduled. They show up. You do the presentation. You do your offering. If you've got those main components built, then put as much as you want. But we generally recommend 25% starting off and then scale it down. We have maintained about 10 to 15% after scaling locations for many years. So after you get it built up, so let me give you an example. We've got a personal training studio, and the goal initially, when it opens, we want to scale it up. So we spend a higher percentage, 25% or more. We fill it up and then we back it down. We backed it down to 25 or 20, and then 15, then 10, and it bounces between about 10 and 15. So our revenue goals in this little 1,500 square foot studio are give or take, $25,000 a month, and it's about 1,500 square feet. And we will spend on average 10 to 15% consistently, month in, month out.
That's to do with attrition and things like that, right?
Yeah. So basically, once you fill your schedule, okay, and you're spending 25%, then you don't need to spend that much because most of your slots are full, and then you just start backing it down. However, you're going to lose clients every month, so you just back it down to 10 or 15%. So when you lose those clients, which generally you will lose 10 to 15% of your clients a month. If it goes above 15% attrition, then there's a red flag. But generally, you're going to lose about 10 to 15%. There's no reason why the advertising will scale down to 10 to 15%. There's a totally two different things, attrition and ad spend. But it's funny that the numbers are very similar. So yeah, a really good trainer will still lose about 10% of their clients every month. So if they have 20 clients, they're going to lose 2 a month. They move, they lose their job, they run out of money, whatever the case is, right? So then on the ad spend of those 20 clients, they're spending about 10 to 15% in ads to fill those other 2 holes. And it's at that point, you're pretty much you've got freedom. You're just in control. As long as you want to train and continue to train, and that's what you're doing. You're just, you dial it in for as many clients as you want. And then you can just plateau. And then you say, to maintain my attrition, I need, 20 leads a month or whatever it is based on your price point and your demographic, your location. Then okay, well, if I spend XYZ dollars, I'm going to get 20 leads a month. And then it's pretty much consistent. And if you ever want to scale it up, scale it down, you can. And once you learn that skill, and once you learn this, and this is something that we do teach through Body Design University, you have the ability not only to control your own business and the revenue that you generate, but also to build a team. Because once you could do it for yourself, you could do it for others. That whole saying, you can't take people places you've never been. Well, it's so true. Like when I learned this at first, I felt like there's so much freedom because I could control. Once I learned how to copyright and create those ads and do the landing page and all that stuff, as a trainer, I knew I could control my income. And the ability to go from technician to entrepreneur is freedom. That's really what we're talking about. So I hope that helps. That's how much that's Tracy. That's how much money you would spend. And
it's a good question.
There's that
pretty general question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, Brad Chandler is from Athens. Where's Athens again?
Athens, Georgia. Athens is
it's pretty close, right?
Yeah, it's I don't hold me to this, but I think maybe about 2 hours outside of Atlanta, and it's where the UGA. I'm pretty sure UGA is there.
Gotcha. So Brad says, what should I be looking for when deciding on a merchant account for my business? What should he be looking for?
Man, there are some really interesting scenarios out there for merchants and processing. It really is. It's really weird. Like these guys, they're going door to door selling merchant accounts. Like, some of these companies are making a killing.
So what's a merchant account?
So a merchant account is the institution between Visa, MasterCard, and your bank. Okay. So this is Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, right? Customers have accounts with them that give them credit or access to their money. Okay. Your bank is over here. When you process a payment, you need that transaction with those companies to go into your bank account, right? And so the way that we do that is by using a merchant account, this institution in the middle. And all they do is they basically manage the transactions between the customer and your bank. So they will, get a signal once we run a card through our merchant account, it'll say this customer's card is going to be approved or it's going to be declined for whatever reason, lack of funds, expiration, whatever the case is. And then once they approve it and they get the signal that it's approved, then they take that money, they send it over to your bank account. A little bit more complex than that, but that's the general what a merchant account is. And you cannot process credit cards without a merchant account. And so we recommend authorize.net and Stripe. Stripe would be at the top of the list. Authorize.net would be number 2. Those would be the 2 that we'd recommend. First Data is another merchant account as well. But just use Stripe. That's what we're recommending now. I mean, honestly, you can just use Stripe. Some of these companies, by the way, that have softwares, they build the merchant account into their software, and don't recommend that because there's hidden fees. You're paying a percentage, and some of it is going to the merchant account, but some of the percentage is not. It's not going to the merchant account. It's going to the software company. Body Design Operating Systems, our software is independent, so it operates independently. You plug in your Stripe account, and then basically we process transactions. You manage the fees with your merchant account. There's nothing hidden, so you know exactly what's being charged, and that's how that works.
How much do they charge for that for merchant accounts?
Stripe, you can kind of Google it, look it up. They're charging a percentage, which is usually less than 3%. It depends on Visa, MasterCard, but usually less than 3% plus a fee per transaction. And keep in mind, they also manage or mitigate the loss. So if a customer signs up with you for 3 months of personal training and then shows up one time and you never hear from them again, but then they call their credit card company to dispute it, you would send the merchant account and they fight it on your behalf. Look, this customer signed an agreement. They just stopped showing up. Doesn't mean that I shouldn't get paid. And the customer never reached back out to me for any reason whatsoever. Here's their agreement and the merchant account, and you'll get those funds reclaimed as long as you have an agreement. And so that's the other rule of a merchant account. You got to be careful. Don't go with a merchant account that is not reputable. I've heard horror stories, and I'll tell you, I was a part of one in 2012. I went with a merchant account because they gave a better discount rate. Okay, so what that means is a discount rate in merchant processing is not a discount. It's a rate in which they charge for processing. That's just what they refer to it as, the discount rate. And it's actually the fee that they charge. Well, it was less than the big player. So I went with them. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. We had a big month, a massive sales month. And I think we did like 3 times what we normally do. It was like during November, Black Friday, something like that. We put up a lot of sales, and this merchant account. And then we had a two customers, file in and say, charge back. They wanted their money back and they wanted to cancel, and they were disputing, which I don't even think we were in dispute of. We were going to return it anyhow. But the merchant was protecting their butts, thinking this company's doing something questionable. Their volume is tripled and we've got a couple complaints. They literally held our money, and it was over $100,000. I'll never forget it. It was over $100,000. We needed it to pay rent. We needed it to make payroll. These are the little stories that small business owners have. And so what do? You're expecting $100,000. You've got rent to make, you've got payroll, and basically the merchant account is holding. They ultimately, after getting our attorney involved, they returned all the funds, or I should say released all the funds within 30 days. And so, but they'd planned to keep it much longer. And oh man, I'll tell you that was a challenging time. And once I got through that and everything, I was so uncomfortable that they did that with no notice, and it was just in the fine print of their merchant agreement. that I set up a new merchant account with a very reputable company, and I switched over. And slowly but surely, all the processing went to the new company. And that company called and said, "Are you guys still doing it? Still in business? What are you doing?" The account rep called and I said, "Yeah, actually, we've decided to go with First Data. We're not gonna deal with that anymore, and we've already switched over. We don't need your." And that was, and from there, it's been over a decade, and we've never had an issue. We process some months really high volume. I mean, really high, and some months lower. We've never had an issue. And so anyhow, when you do pick a merchant account, which I do recommend Stripe, they are the new kids on the block, and they've got a great track record now. So I'd recommend them. But if not, First Data, authorized.net.
Got that, Brad?
Options. Cool.
Brad, you got that?
I hope that was helpful.
So.
Okay. All right. Next one we've got from Felix Garcia from Phoenix, Arizona. Felix from Phoenix. Okay. Should I recommend my clients take probiotic supplements? That's a great question. Should I recommend that my clients take probiotics? Well, I mean, look, there's enough science. There's enough science, isn't there? Doug's gonna get on me. No, look. I'm gonna let Doug talk about probiotics a little bit. He's gonna tell you how special they are.
Yeah, I mean,
don't recommend anything.
I was just going to say, this goes back to what? This is our mantra to begin with.
Yeah.
We generally don't want to be recommending too much when it comes to supplements. We do know, whey protein and fish oils, for instance, because these have been around and they've been studied extensively. It's not that probiotics have not been studied extensively. They have been studied very extensively at this point. Keep going. I'll be right back. Okay. The point with probiotics is that unfortunately, with so much data out there and so much research that's continuing to be done, there's still a lot that we don't know. There's nothing generally problematic with them, other than that, Felix, what are you going to recommend to them? Because right now, if you go to the food store, or you go into Walgreens or CVS or one of these other places, what you're going to find is that there's 20 different blends. And, that's the only issue with probiotics. And, look at that. Organic grass-fed whey. So these are the only two things that I recommend to clients. This is it. Multivitamin and a whey protein supplement. Now, Doug had mentioned probably plant-based and some other options, but bottom line is these are the only two things. Yeah, because as soon as we get into probiotics, where do we stop? It's just a massive industry at this point, because there's so many bugs. I call them bugs. Okay, we call them bugs. They're bacteriums, they're yeasts. You got literally 1,000 different species living inside your intestines. The point is that in general, if a client says to you, should I take probiotics? First thing I say is, well, is there something that your doctor has recommended? Because a doctor can recommend UTIs, urinary tract infections. There are specific probiotic supplements that are very effective. The problem is right now it's still a shotgun. It's still a shotgun approach. Have you seen them? Have you seen the feeds coming through on your Facebook, by the way? I get the feeds for what? For all of these microbiome. Oh, dude. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, because they're retargeting you. And I love it. In fact, I'm going to take all that stuff down and I'm going to do a study on it. Do a study on it and show all of these new companies out there. Yeah. Look, the fact of the matter is how do you know if you're vitamin C deficient? Right. How do you know? How do you know if you're vitamin A deficient or any of these? I'm gonna make it real simple for every trainer out there. One, it's outside of our scope of practice to make recommendations really for any supplements, right? But two,
I literally have a track record. Doug and I have track records of getting results without making any of those recommendations. And you always hear us talk about this. Why would we be focusing on supplements that play about a 5% role, if that, when the macros, the calories, all these other things are off? Like, it doesn't make sense. But if you're going to, I will tell you that I feel 100% comfortable recommending a protein supplement and a multivitamin. But that's it. That's literally it. That's all I recommend. That's all we recommend. We get great results. Just a multivitamin, the one that we recommend, and we get no benefit, no commercial promotion, anything like that. But New Chapter is a great company. They make a great product. They make an organic multivitamin. That's why we recommend it. You can almost take it on an empty stomach without it being upset. So New Chapter multivitamin. And then this one we found recently, Doug and I, where basically, you could buy I think this is 5 pounds. Yeah, 5 pound bag, organic whey, grass-fed protein. Because most people, they don't get the protein that they need. And so those are the only 2 things that we recommend. So anyone else that has a question out there, do we recommend creatine? Do we recommend glutamine? Do we recommend BCAAs? Do we recommend? Do we say that some of those don't have benefit? Of course they do. A lot of them really do. Are we going to recommend them to our clients? No.
And why are people now, why is the probiotic industry growing? Why? It's because people don't do the very basic thing that they should be doing right off the bat from a nutritional perspective. In general, the reason you're taking a probiotic is why? It's because you're not eating well. That's generally the reason.
That's right. That's right.
The bugs are in us. If you're not feeding your bugs, you got to get the bugs and you got to feed the bugs. There's the prebiotic.
Dude, that just sounds weird, man.
I know. I was telling my pastor the other day.
I don't have no bugs.
We were talking about it and he said to me, he says, and he was sick and he's like, you started talking about bugs. I said, that's right. You ain't getting enough bugs in your diet. You need more bugs. More bugs.
Dude, can we move on?
Food to feed your bugs.
Yeah. And you're not wrong, like I said, but look, those are the only ones that we recommend. So,
all right. Well, look,
what do we got next?
I'm going to give you one from Barbara. Barbara Knoll is from San Diego, California.
Okay.
I've got 8 clients I'm training at a health club right now. I'm looking at spaces for my own training business. Well, congratulations. Good for you. Is there a square footage I should focus on?
Yeah, there really is. Square footage makes all the difference. And it really depends on the business model that you want. First, decide business model, then that'll tell you how much square footage. So let me give you an example. If you want to be a trainer, there's several different models. There's a model where you rent a space or buy, even better, if you can get a mortgage on something out there. But you rent a space or buy, and you continue to train your clients, and you rent out other space and have a bunch of independent personal trainers running their business, just paying your rent, right? That's a model. I've seen it work, and I don't think it's the best, but it's a great model. And for that reason, you need a lot of space because you're gonna want a lot of trainers coming in training. Now, it could be relative. If you want 5 trainers and the market value in your location is $1,000 a month rent from a trainer, well, and depending on how much rent you pay, you want to plan accordingly. If you live in a suburb or a small town, you can maybe the rents that trainers are paying are $250, $500 a month, right? Something like that. And we're still seeing numbers that low across the US. Generally speaking, good opportunities, usually $1,000 a month. With that being said, if you're going to do a rent and have independent trainers, then you need enough space for all the trainers. If you're going to, plan to offer other services inside your space, for example, like large group training, you would need that space. Don't recommend it. I would just recommend sticking with personal training or small group training. If you're going to run it where you have a bunch of employee trainers and you want multiple trainers training at the same time, got to have the space, right? If you don't want those business models and you just literally want you and maybe 1 or 2 employees, training at different times. So they're not even in there at the same time. So it really depends on the business model. But for the average personal training studio, I would say is probably around 2,000 square feet, something like that around the US, 2,000 square feet. You know, and we've done personal.
Does that include the like bathroom and all the
Includes everything. Includes everything. The front area, the bathrooms, the laundry room, you know, utility room, we call it, you know, but generally right around 2,000 square feet. There's tons of studios that are much smaller. As I've seen literally a personal training studio as little as 500 square feet that was doing really well. And it was just a single operator. And they were doing really well. I think their rent was like $1,500 a month and they were killing it.
Yeah. Remember my buddy in Titusville, remember?
Right. Yeah.
His place, and he's got that rented out to somebody right now.
Yeah.
Three-person setup. It's perfect.
Yep. So it really depends on the business model. That's how you decide a square footage. But with that being said, unless you're just building a massive personal training studio, it generally doesn't get above, 3,500, 5,000 square feet. Anything above that is just, pretty much going to be focusing on large group training and some other things. So I think if you have 8 clients right now, you should be thinking about something small. And keep in mind, even if you sign a year lease or a 3-month lease, a 3-year lease, at the end, you can grow into a bigger space and move if that makes sense.
Yeah. I always wonder when like we get some of these questions, and I'm not sure if Barbara is like full-time and she's growing her business, but we look at 8 clients, and I'm just wondering if that's like, if that's one,
I mean,
or not, I guess these are the other questions, right?
Look, that's hard because depending for her, she's in, I think you said San Diego.
Yep.
She's in San Diego. Like it may be where she's on a mission. She knows she's going to get to 20. She doesn't want to put another 12 in this place where she's training. So she's just like, you know what? I've got 8. I'm going to keep going. Things are looking good. I feel good about this. I love what I'm doing. Let me just go ahead and get my own space. Generally speaking, we want trainers billing $10,000 a month or more. That's generally what we want before recommending a trainer open up their own space. $10,000 a month in revenue or more, preferably higher than that, but $10,000 a month is what we look for. So if you do the math on that, right, we're talking about 20 clients paying $500. That's what we're talking about. So, but I've had some people like they start from zero and they're like, no, I'm starting right in my own space, and that works. But generally speaking, it's a good idea to be able to pay rent somewhere as an independent trainer or working as an employee where your total gross revenue from the customers that are training with you is above $10,000. And then generally from there, you can actually roll, if they're your customers, roll them right into a new space and literally have those customers paying rent because you're your customers. If you're working at a gym somewhere, you can't do that because they're the clients and customers of the gym. You're a W-2 employee. And you definitely not want to take those clients. Okay. I believe in karma. So it's just like, those are their clients, leave them there. But you've proven your ability to maintain and train that level of clients and that level of revenue. So then you can open up your own space and start filling it up. And look, don't get me wrong. If you have an agreement with that space as an employee that you can take some customers, then by all means. But generally speaking, if you're at one of these big box gyms or even a small mom and pops and you're working as a W-2 employee, those customers are customers of the gym, not yours. So it's a lot to that, but great question. I hope that was helpful.
Here's a good one. A good one from Carlos Diaz from Baltimore. How much cardio should I be doing to lose weight?
How much cardio should you be doing to lose weight?
And it looks like you've been doing a little bit of cardio.
Dude, are you, I can't even believe that. Wait, hold on. Which way's the beach?
Was I insinuating?
Which way's the beach? Oh,
it's funny. It's funny because, It's when I see you in like a t-shirt like that, it reminds me way back in the heyday when I knew guys, not
Dude,
me,
this is not a t-shirt. I have a collar.
but we would throw our t-shirts in the dryer 2 or 3 extra times, to get them.
Dude, look,
I'm not
man.
saying you. I'm not
Look,
saying you.
Are you hating? I mean, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I maintain 12%. That's just, that's just how I do it. So,
how much cardio should I be doing to lose weight?
Yeah, great question. So, I'll tell you, I do 20 minutes of cardio with my clients. That's what and when I say with my clients, I have my clients do 20 minutes of cardio during their sessions after their weight training. That's all. I've never had them do more than that. Like never. And I've trained every possible person you can think of. On their off days, I have them do 30 minutes. When they're not training with me, I have them do 30 minutes, a total of 45, including a 5-minute warm up, 5-minute stretch, and 5-minute cool down at the very end. Okay. But I have them do 20 minutes of cardio. That's it. So when it comes to losing weight, I know everyone's tuning in is listening to it. It's not the cardio. Cardio will assist, no question. And I'm not going to not have them do cardio. But if you want to lose body fat, quit running the hills. If you want to lose body fat, quit getting on the spin bike, quit jumping, Carlos, getting on the trampoline or running on the treadmill. You want to lose body fat?
He brought 2 things together here that we have to separate, don't we?
If you want to lose, because that's the question, right? It's like to lose weight. It's 80% nutrition, 80%.
And by the way, just keep in mind that it's not that you don't do cardio. Cardio's benefit is cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory. This is the confusion that we get in now. Like you're saying, of course, I mean, there is a caloric offset from doing cardio, but got to be really careful that we don't do so much cardiovascular respiratory training that we start to actually change or at least shift some of the endocrinological benefits, right, from the resistance training, cardio, and nutrition in favor of catabolism. We want fat catabolism, not lean body mass catabolism, and that's an issue.
Yeah, and look,
all the time.
The other part of that, Doug, too, is like we don't want people even associating cardio with weight loss. Like that's not a good idea, and it takes years, and some people could never break it. They lock in on their mind that cardio equals weight loss. They lock in on their mind that cardio. Now, don't get me wrong, like burning calories definitely helps. But if you put in your mind, like we want people doing cardio, our clients doing cardio to have a strong endurance system. That's really, we want them to be cardiovascularly fit.
Right. Does
it assist with, burning? Of course. But if we have them focused on, if they want to lose weight, what they're eating, it would, the return on investment would be much, much better.
Right. Yeah, it's a metabolic issue. And that's always a challenge, is to get people to focus on their nutrition for body recomposition, you want to call it, and then focus on resistance training for its unique benefits, right? Insulin sensitivity, increase, and then cardio has its direct benefits. And by the way, from a health and wellness perspective, cardio is in one sense the most critical element of a health-based lifestyle, because of the cardiovascular system is generally going to be the indicator of true health. So how strong your heart is, stroke volume, and all the other variables that go into it. So I think, what do they say? 150 minutes per week at moderate intensity training. That's fine.
Dude, what did they say? You mean, what do we say?
No, what do
we?
American Heart Association. We
dude. So
we follow their guidelines, which is fine. That's fine. But what we know from a cardiovascular perspective, more is better from a cardiovascular strengthening perspective. But there's that balance. If I start going over, start doing more and more cardio, then I got to deal with the consequences of that, which is going to be generally tapping into lean body mass. And this is that balance that we have to find for folks. So, but nevertheless.
And keep in mind, like our training generally, just so you know, like just keep this in mind. Our weight training that we do today is generally high intensity. Mm-hmm. Our weight training is a form of cardiovascular conditioning, cardiovascular exercise. It really is. So like the training sessions that we do in total with the cardio is 45 minutes of cardio exercise, even though we're focused around weight training. But let me leave you with this. I had a client was about 50 pounds overweight. Never forget it. His name was Andrew. And he was training at a gym that I was in. And he had been doing 5 hours of cardio every week, minimum an hour every single day, 5 days a week. He would do this. And he would come in and he would get on the treadmill and he would go for an hour. This is a true story. Okay. I've got a before and after picture too. He basically would come in 5 days a week. I always saw him. I waved, but he had this very dark and like kind of grim look. But he was 50 pounds overweight. He'd been doing this for years. This is a true story. I reduced his cardio. Let me say it again. I reduced his cardio, increased his weight training, and he started to lose body fat. Literally, didn't even have to focus much on his nutrition. We made some changes. We increased his protein a little bit, but I remember the biggest role that played for him is I took him from 5 hours a week in cardio all the way down, and he started to lose body fat. And he had been consistently exercising this way, almost like chasing the calories that he's eating throughout the day. Like for years, trying to burn the calories that he's eating throughout the day. And, it's all about the whole working smarter, not harder.
Dude, how do we run out of time so quickly?
I don't know. We got some great questions, man. That was thank you guys so much for all these questions. And we really hope that this was helpful. If it was, subscribe somewhere below, share this video. If you learned anything at all, if this was beneficial to you as a personal trainer in any way, comment below if you have a question. So if you have a question, just comment it below and we will do our best to answer it in the next personal trainer talk. Again, every Wednesday, 2:00. Doug, do you want to leave them with any words of wisdom?
No, I've got no words of wisdom. Not. Of course I do. Stop doing so much cardio. Get your weight training.
There we go. And
all right, guys. Eat well. How's
awesome,
that?
Guys.
Is that good?
Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect, man. Guys, every week we enjoy this with you. Thank you for allowing us to enter your journey and being a part of this. And we will continue to be here to answer your questions. Again, subscribe, comment your question below. No matter when you see this video, comment the question below. We will get a notification about your question. We'll work hard to answer it in the next one. Have a great week.